I want to ask you like a few initial questions of how you guys met, what initially drew you both of you to each other, and also because Manvendra had a significant support, being from the Indian family, being from the royal family of India. He did get a lot of support from his grandmother and great grand uncle. So I want to know a little bit about these background stories.
So my grandmother was very close to me. She almost treated me like her son more than a grandson, and she was like quite LGBT friendly. Though in the beginning she was that friendly, because the only thing she was not happy was that I kind of disclosed my identity to the world initially, but then later on she realized no, it was important that I should disclose it. So she has been quite friendly, and I'll just very briefly put her connection with both of us, that she passed away in the year 2015, and
Mm-hmm.
I was there at her bedside when during the last days of her life in Mumbai, and when she was admitted in the hospital. And then she just took my hand and she said that, "Beta, son, now I can die in peace. I know my days are coming soon, but I can die in peace because now I know there is somebody to take care of you," which was it was DeAndre. So those were
Mm-hmm.
her the last time we met her. So that kind of indicated the fact that she was extremely happy that I was not being recognized in my own palace. So he had his own palace in Rajpipla. So he took care of me, and then when I disclosed to him about uh, my and his relationship, he was like again happy, and he was the one who even groomed DeAndre in many of the royal etiquettes and protocols and whatever is expected from a royal family. And he also, being the senior most member of a royal family, he also knighted. Uh, the title Duke was given by my grand uncle, who kind of knighted DeAndre as the Duke of Hanumenteshwar. So yeah, I mean, if there's anything which DeAndre wants to add, he can add in both these cases.
Yes, DeAndre.
Yes, for the for Manvendra's family, once I had met the grandmother and the great uncle, was in Rajpipla during the time, coming in to visit the establishments, and they're from a time period of where they actually seen the ruling families rule, so they have come through a lot in their lived experience. And I feel like that sometimes when the individual comes to a lot, you witness a lot of change, right?
Right.
And so your perspectiveness is on what's important in life and what you will want to value, right, changes with that lived experience. And I feel like them being senior members of the establishment, having that pushback on Manvendra because he is their crown prince. So within the establishments, we still run on these traditions, these cultural traditions that have moved forward. And so he is their Uraj. He was when he was born in 65, he was registered with the Ministry of Home Affairs as the next ruler. And Manvendra's father was, a constitutionally still the Maharaja till 71 when the country went to emergency. So a lot of people don't really understand the metrics of this family in terms, because lots of people think 48, we flipped the page and we started a new day, and constitutional rights, are the way of the country and we move forward with that. And it's true, but with the crown families, they still had constitutional responsibility based on that constitution. So Manvendra being born as the crown prince registered with the Ministry of Home Affairs brings a lot of significance to his experience and to that of the family in which that we're talking about. So for them to embrace me, and want to educate me on protocol and etiquettes and bring me into the fold of the establishments and into their lives, um, was a complete shock. I'm to myself, and I think as well as to Manvendra. And everything happened really fast. Like within a week's time period, they had a meeting. The establishment, had a meeting. They had agreed upon in that meeting that they had all chose me to be his spouse. And, you know, at that time, me and Manvendra, we were really good friends. And I had, a lot of love and care for Manvendra. But we didn't have any, traditional dating aspects of our relationship. So we went from being, you know, good friends, and I would come to visit India, and to being married, and to me being knighted when I was on a vacation. And I suppose back in the days of the establishment, these type of situations sometimes would be sewn together that fast because of transportation. You don't know when the next person's going to be coming into the royal households. So it meant a lot to me to be accepted, by the family. One, because I am not royalty. I do not come from a royal background, and I
Right.
am a foreigner. I am an American citizen. And so lots of people get hung up on these issues within um, the cultural identities of India. What's a person's background? What's their religious background? What's their dietary background? What's their food behavior? And they make judgments, on either you get a green check in that box or a red check in that box. And so many, great opportunities probably for families to come together have been missed, because if you don't get a green check in a box, right, then you're out. So I found like all that was really interesting because none of those things in which that you see most of India's families, when they talk about the culture and they talk about the traditions, they follow these idealisms. And this was all not part and parcel of my experience. So it was it was a great way to be able to observe culture, but the same way to observe how people can and are willing to move forward, with what's happening in front of them, what's happening, in that time it was, 2013,
Mhm.
so if they can do it, then that gives me great hopes for, the rest of India when they want to use the word culture as their reasoning not to do something versus using the word culture as a reasoning to do.
Right, right, absolutely, absolutely. So overall, the entire, I would say, process of acceptance um, was really smooth for DeAndre. That's what I get out of this. But that entire cultural part into the family is one thing, right? But there is also acceptance from, say, other people. There's also acceptance from, like, globally people are very resistant. So did you face such cultural challenges?
Also, I'll take that one to begin with. I would say that, yeah, acceptance from the LGBTQA community is not there. Um, I don't feel a part and partial of the Indian LGBTQIA community. Um, I always tell everyone I'm a great supporter of my husband's trust, but I'm not a part of his trust. And that was really shocking to me with my first experiences because I was thinking I would come in and I would have like this new Indian family of lesbian, gays, bisexuals, transgender community members. And because Manvendra has a trust, like it's inbuilt. And what I got was jealousy, backbiting, sabotage. And after having those lived experiences, then you put up your barriers, right? And or uh, you keep people at a distance, so I can observe you, but I won't let you too close. And I know that you don't want me too close either, because there's jealousy of being able to move forward, jealousy of all different kinds of situations with that resonates within the ego of leadership. And so if people in leadership positions have this towards you, then the other people underneath them think that this is the correct behavior to take. Um, though I have always been a great supporter, and one of the things that I always strive to do is provide financial opportunities for people, regardless if they accept me as an individual or accept my personality or like me. You don't have to like me, you don't have to accept me. I have to do that for myself each night and each morning. I have to look at myself and ask myself, did I do my best? Did I do anything to transgress upon anyone's, and I have to answer that. So, and then globally, it's very similar. Within the Indian culture, people who live outside of India are really hateful and really resistant to me and Manvendra as individuals. So it could be the gay thing, and it could be the royal thing, or it could just be an intersectionality of an Indian and American. But however that lies within them, or it could be all three, right? It's just a trifecta. That a lot of Indians who have come from India, settled, have children, and the children's either lesbian or gay, or bisexual or transgender, and they are somehow part and parcel of the community, will find something to backbite, backstab, slant eye us, or clap at us in a negative way, and versus embracing us and wanting to share our common interests. So there's still like a lot of work that has to be done, because um, people carry things with them for some reason, and again, it comes back to the word culture. The Indian culture, to me as an individual, is very open and loving, and it's very devotional. The word I would like to use for Indian cultures, in terms of life, is they're devotional people, regardless of your spiritual background. The word conservative needs to get erased, because people try to carry this conservativeness with them, which carries bigotry and bias, which isn't part and parcel of a devotional aspect of a person, right? So it's like they've intertwined this word of conservative, and then they like to wield it around as like that's our culture, and so therefore I'm fine to be bigoted, and I'm fine to have a bias, versus being like, oh my gosh, I'm devotional to all the things that I'm doing as a human, right? And there's still space and place for grace, and I would love to feed you. Indians love to feed people. No one's not ever offered me food, right? But are you offering me the food and that hospitality, or are you offering me food because that's part of your hospitality, but then you use the word culture to shut down that narrative, to paint your lived experiences of being bigoted and biased as okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. I really
I'll
like.
just like to add yeah, I will just like to add one thing to this this conversation, is that, see, the DeAndre is coming into my life, brought a lot. Why it brought a lot of hatred and jealousy and all, because there were a lot of people from in the community who wanted to partner with me. You know, so there were a lot of them. Still, there are so many. I mean, there is so many people who really so they were like quite disappointed, that when I found someone, and that they lost a chance. So whether their
Right.
intentions were good or bad, I don't know. But that's one of the reason why that hatred and jealousy came from the LGBT community.
Right, right.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk, yeah, even the what India and globe, I think it that even talks about the global community as well, not just restricted to India, but anywhere in the world.
Right, right. So Manvendra, because we are on this like LGBTQIA plus community, I remember during the DI conference, you had mentioned one thing which actually was very prominent to me, and it's still like in my head. You said that I am not a LGBTQIA plus activist. I'm a humanitarian activist. I would really want you to like elaborate this particular thing. So this statement is still there in my mind, and I think I had also put it on the gram when I had shot you and all of these things, quoting you. Unfortunately, I couldn't tag you, but I really want you to like elaborate on this particular statement.
Yeah. Yeah. So when people label me as an LGBT rights activist, I tell them that look, I am working for much more than that. Uh, like I gave examples in my own city in Rajpipla, we are 95% tribal population. So I've been
Mhm.
working for the tribal population as well for their empowerment. We have an African tribe as well in our region, which came down to Africa 300 years back. African Sivi
Mhm.
tribe. I'm working for their empowerment. I work for the women empowerment as well, cisgender women empowerment for them. We work for domestic violence against women. We have been addressing issues with the in-laws, with the dowry cases, legal issues. So we are taking care even for menstrual hygiene. I'm working,
Mhm.
for women and girls, those issues as well. And I have been working for all, like for example, I've been working for visually impaired population. Even in Rajpipla, I've been doing it. I've been doing in Mumbai and other parts of India as well. Then physically challenged, mentally impaired. So various populations I've been working on, not restricting myself just to the LGBT. So that's why I say, instead of LGBT, narrowing it down, I have been working for many other human beings, who have been deprived of their basic human rights and who need to be given justice, and those who have been subject to stigma and discrimination. So they are also needed. So that's why I say I'm a human rights activist working on all kinds of populations, including LGBTQI plus, and more,
Right.
even not just animals, humans. I work for animals as well. I don't know, you might have
Mhm.
noticed one cat just crossed me when DeAndre was talking. So I rescue animals,
Mhm.
and I've been working for the protection of the animals and cruelty against animals. I've been working on that aspect as well. So, that's why I kind of don't wish to be labeled as a rights activist, but you can say an activist of all kinds.
In the meanwhile, DeAndre, I would like to know your perspective. Again, you are putting a lot of perspective, and that's really wonderful. About again the current state of LGBTQIA plus representation in the media, and again because you mentioned leadership roles in your earlier statement, so again in the leadership roles, how do you see it globally? Is it growing? Is it that the representations are there, people are identifying themselves, and there's a lot of acceptance both in the media and in the leadership roles?
Yeah, so it just kind of varies, in terms of media. Every day there's something happening within the LGBTQIA spectrum globally, that's not picked up by mainstream media. So it's like, following like, very specific things, in terms of leadership, at the level of governance, in Europe, in the European countries, there's a lot of leadership coming forward in terms of identifying themselves as a gay man or a lesbian or transgender, and winning seats in their elections, and being identified as that, right, and also serving the people. um, Media as a whole has, I feel like we still have a long ways to go in terms of, um, what is the responsibility of media, right? In terms of our news and in terms of shared information. And, overall, I feel that our technological advances of shared information are beautiful. Lots of great stories are going out, and we need to do more at bringing those segments forward, as organizations. More commitment needs to be given than just a huge focus on the June month by organizations, corporates, newsprint, and news outlets, where they'll do a week-long segment, right? And it's like, can you do a week-long segment, choose a day of the week for each month, right, to keep that conversation moving forward, instead of making it so focused on one month, on one thing, like. And one thing I kind of that I have observed in India, and I also enjoy, is that India uses different months to celebrate its pride. So yes, there is a global perspective on the month of June, but then because of weather, right? And it's monsoon season and it's summer season. So a lot of prides will end up starting in, we'll do in a cooler month, right? So there are these opportunities there. Though I think our media partners globally need to step it up and make a stronger commitment. And in terms of, movies, there are a lot of really good filmmakers out there now that aren't a part of like the big houses. So definitely like, keep your eye open on independent film festivals. Cassius was one that we attended in Mumbai. There's a lot of opportunity for people to really see how LGBTQIA intersectionality and the allyship of media is starting to partner together, and they're really developing beautiful storylines that just take you right and like you're there. And there was a really good one that was done in Gujarat that was showcasing a whole different aspect of Gujarat. So these type of things make me smile. These type of things make me go, yes, that is a culture that I identify. That's a culture that I understand. And that's the culture in which I understand that people value, that those are the things in which that India as an individual, as a country, and as individual people can really get behind if you're using the word culture like that, because it really is a beautiful culture. And India has a lot to offer the world, and the world has taken a lot from India, but India doesn't seem to want to take credit for it. I mean, India has given the Kama Sutra, Encyclopedia of Sex and Sexual Positions for the spirit having the human body to attain ultimate pleasure. Yoga, which is now practiced everywhere in the world as a exercise versus as a way of moving energy and a way of living and being. And India needs to really, move itself in that positioning and be like, those are ours. And those were our gifts to the world. And that's the culture in which I talk about.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, talking
Uh,
about yes,
yeah,
Mavindra.
yeah.
Thanks.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
You're also
yeah. In
visible.
case you can't hear, I will switch off my video because video takes up a lot of data. So
Yes,
I just now switched off my Wi-Fi and switched on again. But let's see how long it's lasted. But if you
yes.
can't hear me, I will switch off my video.
Okay,
Right?
sure.
Yeah. So I will again start the answer. So I would like to begin my answer with a quote which was made by Justice Anand Venkatesh from the Madras High Court when he was pronouncing a judgment in 2021 when he was hearing a lesbian couple who had filed this petition in the court. And the judgment said that if true justice has to be given to the LGBTQI plus community, then each and every education institution of India should include the issues of the LGBTQI plus in its textbooks. So, taking true from the judgment, I feel uh, that schools, colleges, education institutions should first of all definitely include the sex education in their curriculum in their textbooks. But also, it is important to have a counselor in
Mhm.
schools, especially because the time when the children realize their sexual identity or gender identity is during the time of puberty. And in the absence of a counselor in the school who can listen to these children, because what happens, most parents are not ready to help them. Even like say, I mentioned, I work on menstrual hygiene issues. A lot of parents don't
Mhm.
talk to their daughters about menstruation. So
Right.
they don't have anyone to listen to. They don't anywhere to go to find out what is going wrong with them. So similarly, the sexual identity and gender identity is something which schools should be able to address at that level, because parents are not going to talk to them that openly and freely. Even for
Right.
example, child sex abuse is a big thing. A lot of children are being abused as children, and the most of the abuse happens within the family itself. So these are the things which we need to you need to start. I'll give you an example of a very progressive school in India with whom I'm closely working. It's called
Mhm.
Tagore International School in New Delhi. This is one of the most progressive schools I've seen working on sex education and imparting education on sex, gender, and sexuality, where the students from the ninth grade and 10th grade are they have become trainers. They go to other schools, other municipal schools in Delhi. They are even training, teaching, teaching staff from other schools on sex, gender, sexuality issues, on sex education. They are very much active. They take part in pride marches in Delhi. They're part of the sensitization programs when it comes to corporates, when it comes to other stakeholders. So I think this school should be a role model for other schools to learn something from them, that how at each and every level, to the understanding of the child, right from primary level to the secondary level, how what kind of sex education is imparted to them when they are younger. Because I've been to the school, so I know what kind of education has been given. Like, they give animated stuff and cartoons and all when they are very young, and as they are progressing, they get older. The pattern of sex education is changing. So that's why it's important that the school level, if this is addressed, and I am closely working with the education ministry. In fact, in some colleges in Gujarat, law universities, even IIM, IIT, these universities, I have already started the process of including the issues in the textbooks. And I'm working with certain chancellors, vice chancellors of universities who have been supporting me in that, and they are also helping me to see how we could change the curriculum and add these into the textbooks.
Right.
I've been invited to conduct courses. In fact, just 2 days back, I was in the medical college in Baroda, and now they are going to call me on a regular basis to this medical college to talk to the medical students.
Oh,
So that when they graduate and they pass out, then they would understand the issues and will not discriminate against the LGBT community when they come for treatment, which has been
right.
happening now. So
Yeah.
that's why education plays a very important role, and I think we need to prioritize on education when it comes to our issues.
Yes, definitely. And actually, like the way you spoke, and also like combining this with what DeAndre was answering earlier. So there's a lot of stigma around this particular topic, and it's actually starts from the school level. Uh, Children are not made aware. They come out of school, they attend colleges, and then because of lack of awareness at a particular age, then there's again another level of stigma that is created. These people, when they go out, they really don't want to consume that kind of a content, even on media. So mainstream medias are not really covering any of these things. There's a lack of visibility for grave issues like these. Medical facilities are something that are very basic and very primary thing for anyone and everyone. So discriminating against an entire community for these services is something again people are not talking about. So rightly placed, I was just combining like the both of things because we are having a little bit of time crunch. We're going extensive also. I want to ask you all about the a royal commitment, 10 years of marriage and activism. So this is the memoir that you guys are into the process of writing, and I think the documentation is on, and it will be released in the US. So I want both of you all to share a little bit on the experience and what is it that we are going to get to read.
Yeah, I think let DeAndre start because he has done a lot of
Mhm.
work on that, so he will be able to give justice to it, and I'll add to it whatever remains.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, well, we wanted to celebrate, our 10 years of marriage. So I was thinking, what would be a great way to go about this, and we decided, like, let's write a memoir of our first 10 years together, and let's highlight, each year as a chapter of our life, and highlight two or three things that we went through that year, and share it, with everyone, share it with the world. So, you'll get a peek at our, inside the establishments and the workings of being married into a royal family, and what does that look like to the rest of the world. Because we now, it's become common for me, the inter workings of an establishment, from a dynasty that started in 1309, is quite different, than, marrying into a family that doesn't have that much history. So you get to see that. You're going to see some of our triumphs and some of our challenges, of what it is. But then there's also a theory. There's also not a theory, but you'll see like a rhythm that is sewn into our lives that had evolved itself through the wisdom that comes from, being married into that family. And so, that's the secret sauce, and what is that wisdom, right? So you have to get the memoir to understand like what that wisdom is and how you can apply that wisdom to your life, to navigate different scenarios and circumstances, but to be able to fall back on that wisdom. So it's a beautiful opportunity to, really go on our journey of the last 10 years of what we have, what our struggles were and why it worked and why we're able to continue to move forward.
Yeah, and were wanting to end it with the Supreme Court judgment, so we were waiting for that. But
Mhm.
because the judge, even though the judgment didn't come in our favor, but yet we have talked about it, and we have, some of the things which we have mentioned in the memoir are definitely going to raise questions from the readers, because there are some things which we left it just very open. So we want the readers to read it and have questions in their mind, because we whenever we'll be invited for book readings and festivals or book clubs or wherever, those are the places where we will be able to answer those questions. So the idea was to the idea behind this was to, as Deandre said, was to talk about our challenges and struggles, and even to inspire a lot of couples who want to come into a relationship, and they are not aware about what are the tips, what are the cues which one should take from, how this, like ours is a very unique, kind of a relationship of two cultures and two backgrounds and two different things, and distance and geography and many things are ways we are different, and yet we could come together and be part of a relationship in spite of lockdown and visa issues and so many other things. We managed to be together. So this book is something which would be interesting for a lot of readers, not just from the LGBT community, but even the general population as well. Because see, I've observed, this is my observation, amongst a lot of couples I've seen, most of the couples I know, heterosexual couples, are just pretending to be in a relationship. So there is so much of hypocrisy there, I mean, they
Correct.
just do it for the sake of that, log kya kahenge kind of, that we
Correct.
use that
Correct.
word, that, that, oh, what will the people say, and this and that and all that, so there is so much of hypocrisy within the heterosexuality itself. Here, we have not got a legal binding, we are not legally married couple in India, yet we are together as a couple, as a relationship, and we don't pretend. You know, yeah,
Correct.
what is there is the fact, which is we are transparent to mention it in a book form. That itself goes to show that don't want to hide anything from the world, that what we both have gone through and everything. And yet we want the heterosexual world and the other people who are homophobic, especially those who are homophobic and have this hypocrisy, to understand that relationships are not just made. We have to work on that. We have to struggle on that, and we don't want to pretend that we are into something like that, and like the other people are doing.
Right, absolutely. And I believe this is going to be like power pack. It's going to be, of course, your story is really powerful. I want to congratulate you both on completing it, firstly. And I can't
Thank you.
wait to read it, have it in my hands as well. And I also believe that it will be it's inspirational for many, not just like for the community, but like the way you mentioned, Manvendra, the struggles of a couple, maybe conventionally everyone stays like together, but the kind of story you guys have, it's all ups and downs. So that I believe it's going to be an inspirational read for many.
Yes. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes. We will like wrap up with one question. Anyone can take it. So I want to know that that there is like Manvendra, especially you believe that I read this that the older and the younger generation are more accepting than the middle generation. So I want to understand why is there this gap, and would you suggest to bridge in this like generational gap?
Yeah. So I think I've already spoken about the older generation. I give you example of my grandmother. I give you example of my grand uncle. My secretary, for example, he's completed 100. He was the first person to have congratulated me when I came out in the public to the public. That so you can imagine. I'll also like to share with you an instance which happened when I came out and in public and. There is a senior citizens club association in my town, and they wrote me a letter, postcard. I mean, they don't have internet and things like that because they are very senior people, all in their 80s, 70s, and 80s. They sent me a postcard saying that we want to honor you for what you have done. The entire Rajpipla was against me. My effigies were burnt, and many things happened against me. But the Senior Citizens Club was the only association which felt that they want to honor me. And when I asked them the reason, they said, "See, whatever you have done with coming out and all, that is not the issue. But why we want to honor you because you have spoken the truth." And you have been honest to yourself and others, which not many people have the courage to do, and that is the reason why we would like to honor you. So the older generation, see, they have probably have seen uh, the world more than anyone, or have got exposure more than anyone else has got.
Right.
Younger generation, why? Because they are more exposed to things like through social media and the internet and these kind of things, where they have their counterparts in other parts of the world, and they in fact, even though sex education is not there in schools, but yeah, I think they know more about sex than even their other counterparts know, sex, gender, sexuality issues. They are curious. They have a lot of things there. So I think it is the middle age group people, though
Hmm.
those who are not from the older generation and those who are not from the young generation, are the ones are where they are very, very rigid in their mindset, and they are not willing to change themselves because of the fact that they even if they know that this is the truth, they are not willing to accept the truth. you know
Right.
so that's my take on this question.
Right, right, absolutely. I think that a lot of resistance is from this middle generational group, wherein they have stopped learning. They don't really want to unlearn certain things, and relearning is so like it's like a different task for them altogether. I want DeAndre to give like one advice to the young LGBTQIA plus individuals striving for acceptance and success.
My one advice would be, if you're striving for your acceptance, one is you to sit with yourself, right, and take a mirror and sit with yourself in front of the mirror and for 5 minutes and have quiet conversations with yourself. So much will be revealed about who you are and what it is that you want to do. Second is to get to know the elder people of the LGBTQIA movement, because the young generation, you have so much access now, right? Then it seems so easier for you to accomplish things. Now, if you don't understand the struggles of the generations that had made that easy for you, then you show up privileged, right? And so you need to understand, how did you get that privilege? Who were those people? Like in India, you have freedom fighters, that you constantly go back to, and like, you have a handful of them that you keep referencing, right? Well, India, you have the same things in the LGBTQIA movement. There are these freedom fighters of people who are now in their late 70s, early 80s, and their stories are only oral. There's not a lot of written documentations about them, or documentaries or movies. Reach into the community and partner and understand why the movement took on its face, and understand the whys behind that has given you the privilege for you to be able to show up now, and honor and respect that.
Great, great. That were really the wise words that we wanted to hear. Additionally, it was a really great conversation. I want to congratulate you both, and also all the best for the kind of work that you are doing, Mavindra. It's really great to know that even being an advocate, you have not limited your mission to only one particular factor, or one particular community, or one particular aspect, but it's really broad in nature. I wish you all the best for the kind of work that you're doing through Lakshya Trust,
Thank you.
through different organizations, and the way you are spreading your wings more, like the one you mentioned, that you're going to medical colleges, and this is something that will help create the wide awareness that is really important. I'll take your leave. Thank you so much for giving your time. Thank you. It was great having conversation with you, and stay in touch.